But again, if I'm hearing from X or Twitter or whatever it's called on details on my contract that aren't privy to me, or happiness that I'm not feeling under certain situations, just to say the word respect, and then actions are speaking a lot louder in a different direction, it's disappointing.
Trey has made it no secret that he wants to be a Bengal. He wants to be here for life, right? But he also talked about being paid properly. And I feel like it's hard to argue with a player who's put up 17.5 sacks the last 2 years. Yeah. But the other part is, you did sign an extension here. That probably was a mistake. You probably could have just forced their hand and forced them to sign you. But at the end of the day, man, I feel like a lot was made of this. Made out of what she said. I also think she could have chose her words a lot better. But I think, again, going back to what I just said a couple of seconds ago, you're not gonna make everybody happy. You're not gonna be, everyone's not gonna appreciate sort of when you do speak or when you do speak. I just think that we don't hear from the Blackburns, Katie, Troy, Duke, even quite often. So when they do speak, everything that they say is probably viewed by a magnifying glass. That all being said, I do think Trey needs to be properly compensated for the work that he has done. I don't know why we're playing games with, your game-changing NFL sack leader, a guy that truly is the one difference maker in your defense, has proven to be that. I just think at some point, as the Bengals say, at some point he needs to be happy. I think at some point you have to just show up and pay the guy. You paid T. Higgins, right? You went out the norms of what other teams may have done or say they would have done. Well, I don't know what the fuss is about paying your defensive end. I think when I look at it, man, I just say like get Trey under contract, get it wrapped up, get it corrected, man. Get that guy in here long term if he wants to be here long term. I feel like this weird doom and gloom thing that everybody keeps doing of like, oh well, Trey's 30, he's gonna fall off a cliff soon. It's like when if we're saying no player by the time they get 30 deserves to get paid, there's a lot of players in the league that probably shouldn't be getting paid at this point of their age. I just feel like Trey hasn't shown you signs of him slowing down. Back-to-back 17.5 seasons, and this is with little to no help on the defensive line. So
yeah, man. I've been pretty staunch against like paying Trey the Myles Garrett, the Max Crosby contract, and said myself that if he was asking for top market dollar, that was going to be a tough sell because he wasn't younger like Max Crosby and hasn't necessarily been as exceptional against the run as guys like Myles Garrett, on top of being a dominant pass rusher. The big thing with me, man, is the framing of this by Katie Blackburn. Like you said, it could have just been poor word choice, but if you're playing hardball negotiations and your stance is you have 1 year on your deal left, we can franchise you after that, we have 2 years of control and you can't do anything about it, then you say that. You don't get to kind of go, oh, well, we offered him a deal and, him and his agent are just really kind of being greedy and they should just be happy with what we got. Like that's because when you hear him go on Pat McAfee and he talks about wanting financial security and talks about wanting guaranteed money and being willing to make concessions and how much money he's going to get, saying, I'm not asking for Myles Garrett money. I'm not asking for Max Crosby money. I'm asking for less than top of market. All I'm asking for is a little more security. You've already kind of broken from your we're not guaranteeing money with Joe Burrow, with Jamar Chase, and even with T. Higgins to some degree. I think if you are the Bengals, you can take care of the guy who suddenly stopped after he had a trade request out and said he was going to sit out. And he seems to have claimed that they kind of said, hey, we're going to take care of you. It's just not right now, but go out there and do your thing. And we'll take care of you when the time comes around. Well, the time comes around and everyone's saying oh yeah, well he has a year left on his deal and the franchise tag. So Trey's just a sucker for believing the Bengals that they were going to take care of him. Is that our stance? That's not right.
With the trade thing in general, it's just getting to a point where it needs to become more clear. We assumed it looked like he was gonna be gone, and then it looked like he was gonna be back, and now it's we're back to well, we don't really know. Well, we have a massive draft coming up. They need so many things, and if Trey's not gonna be a part of it, or if the Trey question is going to be even larger than it is now, that's going to drastically affect how they're going to be selecting here in a couple weeks. It changes so many things. So they need to come to a resolution or at least make the picture abundantly clear one way or the other sooner rather than later.
It's for me, the frustrating part is they're letting the league, it seems like, kind of dictate everything. Same thing with interior offensive linemen. For me personally, I'm not going to let the draft dictate who I add in free agency. That's me. And I think that the way that the same thing Zach Taylor said, hey, let's see how the draft plays, and then we'll go from there. So they're looking at it as, okay, well, if offensive lineman falls to 17, okay, maybe falls to 48. Same thing. I think they're kind of doing the same thing maybe with Trey. Like, okay, well, let's see who we get at 17. Maybe we get something. Maybe we don't. If we don't, we're not going to, if we do get somebody, maybe we don't re-sign Trey. And that's the frustrating thing. I think you have to get the guys in your building and keep them there, not just let who you draft dictate it. Because respectfully, whoever I draft at 17 should not dictate if I want Trey on my team or not. If it's an edge rusher, you can still have an edge rusher opposite Trey Hendrickson. If it's not edge rusher, damn sure you need Trey Hendrickson. So I feel like they're letting the draft kind of dictate their thought process when I don't think they should be.
For sure. Listen, I've been on record before saying that I think it's a backwards ass way of dealing. I think they do things very interesting. The philosophy is everything is reactionary, it's not actionary, especially considering the neglect at the defensive line position. You're sitting there banking on the potential of Joseph Asai stepping up again, right, this year from 5.5 sack performance that happened in the last 7.5 games, whatever the case may be, against lesser talent, and the Cam Sample making a full return from the Achilles tear. I think this is wishful thinking. I'm hopeful that Myles Murphy turns into something in the National Football League. However, none of those players that I just named should stop the Bengals from saying, hey, we need to draft an edge and upgrade the position. You can try to talk yourself out of the deal. You can try to talk yourself out of, hey, we need to go out there and sign draft a defensive lineman all you want, but you're going to find yourself in the same shitty situation. The fact of the matter is, at 17, you'll probably have the chance to draft a difference maker on the defensive line this year. That's what it is. You'll probably have your chance to draft a James Pierce Jr. You'll probably have your chance to draft a Mike Green, depending on if you can look past his off the field issues, or a Walter Nolan, or insert next said defensive dominant lineman in there. The spot for me, I don't know why the Bengals are just so hard pressed to be right in this situation. Draft the talent that is in front of you. Draft the talent that is in front of you. I don't care who I have on the defensive line. Competition breeds success. You either eat or you die. As simple as that. That's what the Eagles do. That's what the Ravens do. That's what some of these elite teams have done, right? Since the Super Bowl run, you have not made the same concerted effort to get better. And now you're saying, well, guys, because we were stupid in the way that we structured our contracts this time around, you know what? We're not going to go in again. Why? You still have money. You still have the ability right now to go out there and make significant upgrades. But yet and still, you'll sit at the owners' league meeting and say, I think we're done. Why? Loser's mentality. Loser way to go about it. I'm not co-signing that bullshit, just being honest with you. It's an ass backwards way of doing business.